just wanted to first of all thank you very much for coming for agreeing to do this and coming on my show, my little
Yep.
tiny show. I found you on Twitter, on X, and I was looking at your posts and I was like, this is a really cool concept. I like what Iowa Mining stands for. I
Yep.
want to talk to him about it and get some more information and see if I can share that with other people to see if maybe you're a solution for them as well. So,
Yeah, sure.
if you don't mind, if you can introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background, tell us about you, tell us about Iowa Mining and how it all started.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the face of Iowa mining. My name's Nathan. I've been in the crypto mining sphere for 5 years, and I started a YouTube channel 2 years ago. And Iowa mining's been around. We're at 11 months since we turned on
Nice.
our first client. So I think it's July 7th or 6th is our first date. So yeah. So I've been doing this for 5 years. I started as a GPU miner at home, built my own shed out back. It still runs, and we got pictures of it. And so I had 48 GPUs at one point, and then added ASICs, and then I started daydreaming about owning a hosting company 2 to 3 years ago. And so that was a concept for well over a year before it actually happened. And so I just learned, paid attention, and me and a local partner here, who's an electrician, but he's also very handy. And he's not like a normal electrician. He's actually done huge industrial projects. At one point, he had the biggest solar. He was in charge of setting up the biggest solar farm in the state of Iowa. And so he's done some big projects. He just hasn't done crypto. And so he's my partner to where I'm the geek. I'm the one that knows all the machines, that knows the firmwares, and knows, the profitability of the miners. And he's the electrician who's handy, who's like, oh, we can build it this way and have these reinforce it this way and so forth. And so like we work well together because I know where his strengths are. So I'm like, hey, here's what I want it to do, and here's why from what I've seen from other places. But then I let him design it and make it his way. And so we have ideas that I've made ideas, and he comes up with something better. And it's fine.
That
It's
works.
just a
Yeah,
partner. So
if that works, that's a great
yes,
way to do it. Absolutely, you got the two different
yes,
areas of expertise that you combine. That's cool.
yes, yep, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, but now I'm just straight ASICs and just straight big boy ASICs.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, on my YouTube channel, you could see my GPU mined. I did quite a bit of that. Never got into CPU mining, but I dabbled in some other stuff, but I was mostly just straight GPU there for a long time.
Gotcha. Do you this might piss off some people. You have a favorite coin you like to mine?
Currently, I would say I mine personally just mine Bitcoin at home.
Uh-huh.
I just have Bitcoin miners.
Uh-huh.
If I had a healthy budget and could buy whatever, I do a percentage of Bitcoin and percentage of Litecoin and Doge. This is how
Okay.
I would do it. So do I have a preference? Probably those two and nothing else. I'm not big on the Casper miners are great, and then they're awful. Lithium, the new Elio miners are the new thing. Like, I'd be very, very lenient on those, and I've actually told people don't buy them, just because of their situation and whatnot. So I guess I'm not just Bitcoin, but I'm more and more open to Litecoin and Doge, just because their machines are profitable, and yeah, I mean they're just not 100%, just a percentage of your miners
Fair
would be
enough.
that.
No, that's good, and I'm the same way. That the I would say I'm like 80% Bitcoin with what I do here, and I'm a small miner, man.
Yep.
Like I just do all this out of
Yep.
my garage. I'm 80% Bitcoin. Then I just got my first Gold Shell Doge Litecoin merge miner that I threw up just this
Yep.
week actually to kind of
Yep.
experiment with that, and it's already making money, so I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm a Caspa believer.
Yep.
So I do have some. My wife is as well. She thinks it's a cool project. So
Yep.
we do have some of the ice rivers that kind of do their thing, and we don't want to turn them off yet. It's more of a labor of love than it is profitable.
Yes,
So
it's tough.
yeah.
The Caspa, I don't mind Caspa. My biggest regret, back in the GPU days, I mined a lot of Caspa, and I mined a lot of the lithium. And if I would have held on to those, because I sold it back in the day, I mean, I had thousands of each, thousands and thousands of each, and I'd sold it for an extra $5 or $6 a day in profit. I would, I wouldn't be working. That's how much I had, and that's the sad part. So yeah, live and learn.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Yep.
So, tell me a little bit about what kind of services do you provide? Like, what is the core of what Iowa Mining does?
Yep. So Iowa Mining, we host for people. So you want to, and it's just the big boy ASICs. So the S21s, the some S19s, but you don't really want those. But the S21s, the L7s, the L9s. As you mentioned, Ice River, they're big boy Ice River ASICs, the KS5Ls, KS5Ms. They made the K7, like these newer big boy ASICs. AlphaPex also does Litecoin and Doge. So you want one of those miners, let's say, but you can't run it at home. You don't have the 240 power. You don't have the cooling. It's too loud, whatever the case may be. So you send it to a hosting company to run it for you. And so that's what we do. We have the infrastructure, we have the cooling, and we have the location where the noise is not a problem. And I run your miners for you. And so, it could be 1, could be 10. I'm a small time guy. I have one container, 1.2 megawatts of power. We're 2/3, little less than 2/3 of the way filled. I have clients that have one miner and that's it. I have clients that have 10, 15. I have a client that has 40, and it's kind of in between. But yeah, that's the idea. You want this miner, you want the new L9 that just came out. You want the new S21 Pro or S21 XP that just came out. But you can't run it at home, but you want it and you want to run it. You send it to me. I run it for you. I set it up on whatever pool you want. And I'm going to mute this phone here in a second, but you set up on whatever phone or whatever pool you want, and it mines to you, and then I send you a QuickBooks invoice just to pay for the electrical, and that's all you pay me is just the electrical. And so that's it. It's pretty simple. It's not as hard as you think. But it lets the small miner that can't run it at home but wants to have a big boy ASIC because they want to DCA into Bitcoin, but they don't want to go to exchange, and they don't want to, buy coins through the exchange and pay the extra fees and then try to get it off the exchange and pay fees again. They don't want to do all that, but they want to get into it, and that's what I provide.
That's cool. So a guy like me, I'm down here in Texas, where we were just talking about this a minute ago, gets balls hot. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. Gets balls hot here in Houston, and humid, which is not a great combination for miners.
Yep.
And basically, I've got a single story home. I've got my day job. This Bitcoin is not putting me, I'm not retired. So I've got to still work. And power prices here in this part of Texas can get quite high because we have to pay our power company. And then we also have to pay CenterPoint Energy, who facilitates getting the power distributed to the homes. Okay. So it's kind of a weird situation we have. And if anyone watches the national news, they know that the power grid down here in Texas leaves a lot to be desired. In Houston, we have frequent power outages. Now, they're not blackouts, but I mean, I lose power. I'll get a power blip, I'd say at least once or twice a week here. And that's not good for cycling miners, especially big boys that are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And then, of course, there's the exhaust heat. I use my garage. I've got two S9s out there right now. I could probably cook a pizza in my garage if I wanted to, with those. So in this case, it would probably behoove someone like me to look into Iowa Mining as a service, because then all I'm doing is I'm still buying the equipment. Instead of putting it in my garage and letting it burn out in that extra heat, it's going to be maintained by someone who knows how to maintain it properly, to keep an eye on it. And it's kind of, for lack of a better term, it's out of sight, out of mind. It's just making me sats. That's all it's doing.
Yes. Simple. That's exactly right. Yes. There is a certain trust level there, and that's why I have the YouTube channel. That's why I come on and do these interviews with my face and everything else, because you're sending me a machine. You want to buy an S21 XP, or you want to buy an S21 Plus, or whatever machine you want to buy. They're $4,000, $5,000, $7,000, and you got to send it to some place, that you're hoping it works out. And so that's why, but that's the idea. You send to me, I run it, and it's another way for you to make more sats, make more Bitcoin, and that's it. It's simple as it sounds. There's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it, and I'm just trying to do it the right way and trying to keep everyone happy.
Fantastic. No, and that's good. Yeah. I see that as a great avenue for, like, you've got folks who they really want to be miners, right? They want that. They want to put the hat on that says I'm a miner. You know what I mean? But at the same time, maybe they don't have the time or the technical expertise to manage their own mining farm.
You're
You're still a miner. But
Yes.
we just have someone like you who is an expert that is taking care of our equipment for us and making sure it runs. So
Yes.
this to me is a really good alternative option to folks who don't want to, or maybe you live in an apartment and you can't run that 21. You know, there's
Yep.
absolutely no way that your landlord's going to let you put that heat vent out your balcony. You know what I mean? So this might be a really good option for it.
Yeah.
So I'm just want to kind of walk through this process here. So here I
Sure.
am. I'm a guy. I go ahead and I go online. I buy myself an S21. Just using that
Yep.
as an example.
Yep.
Can I have it shipped directly to you when I buy it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And most of my clients do that because it saves time. It saves money.
Yep.
You know, you're not shipping it home and then shipping it again to me, and that's time and money wasted.
Right.
So most of the time they ship it directly to me. I'll be honest, I have current clients. I'll wake up and I'll have a text or an email saying, "Hey, I just ordered a new machine. Here's the tracking." I don't even know what's coming. You know, they just it's great. It's awesome, and it's But yeah, that's how you would do it. You
Go
just
check your porch.
Yeah.
You got something sitting out there.
Yeah, we talk before you order it, and then when you order, you just send it straight to me. So,
Fantastic. Cool.
Yep.
So then you get the unit. You
Yep.
got your cool facility, and just so you know, I know you can't see me doing it, but as we're talking about this, like
Yep.
I pulled up a picture of your hosted mining shelves that show
Yep.
the nice clean setup you have with
Yep.
your power distribution units and your cabling all pretty, because my house
Yep.
does not look like that. You'd probably yell
Yep.
at me if you saw a picture of how my cables are.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see how the miners. It looks like you have like they're tied right to the exhaust wall, so it's just blowing
Yes.
that heat out. So
Yes, and we can talk about that. There's reasons for that, but yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I copied other people. You know, we're all running the big boy miners. They show pictures of how they do stuff. If they're doing it, and you see a lot of them doing the same thing, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. So we designed that whole thing ourselves. The whole container we designed ourselves. But 90% of it I stole from other people. You know, why take what's not broken? If it's working, then people are doing it. There's a reason why they're doing it that way. So me and my partner, like I said, he's the handy one. We designed the whole thing ourselves. He is more he's more OCD about cleaning than I am. I'm pretty OCD. I really am. But he is worse, which is great because he keeps me. He keeps that level pretty high, which is good. So yeah, we take very much pride in what we built. We are always keeping an eye on what's if we have an issue, what caused it, or hey, is this gonna be a problem, or how can we make this better? We already have the ideas for what we're gonna do next winter. Because of we went through this winter, we didn't have any issues, nothing weird, but we want to make it better for next winter because we know where we could have problems, so we want to make stuff better. So like we take a lot of pride in what we have, and that it's not a lot, it's nothing crazy, but yeah, we when your miner is going to be there sitting on the shelf next to these other miners, I'm making it as best as we can, and that's without saying.
very cool. Let me see here. I'm just kind of going through my little list of questions, and I got these pictures of. I wish I could show you my desktop. It'll make
Yep.
sense when you see the video afterwards.
Oh yeah,
but
we're good. I get it.
So, kind of just touching on this, and we've kind of already touched it a bit. What's your ideal customer? Like, who is the person that you find calls you the most and says, "Hey, Nathan, I need to get this. I want to look into your service." Who's that person?
So there's multiple clients. What I want from any client, either a guy with one miner or a guy with 15 miners. If I'm doing my job, we're not talking very much. We're talking a lot at the very beginning, getting it set up, getting the right pool, getting it going. But then if I'm doing my job, you don't have to bother me about miners not working or billing's weird or whatever. It's gonna be the exact same every month, and I'm doing my job. The miner's up all the time. So the perfect client, it doesn't matter how many miners they have, as long as I'm doing my job, then they're happy. That's the perfect client. That's all that matters. So yeah, it's tough. I have clients that have one, and they're great. To be honest, there's one today. I'm like, wait, he still runs with me? It was one of those things. Like, damn, I haven't talked to him for a while.
That's
But
a good
because, yeah, he was like my 6th or 7th client. He sent me one miner. We haven't had any issues. I haven't had to contact him. He runs. He pays his bill on time.
Everyone's happy. No news is
There's
good
nothing wrong
news.
with that. He's got one miner, and it's
Yeah.
fine.
That's great. No, that's
So-
no news is good news. Yeah.
And I had a client, the client that sent me 3540. He came from a different hosting company. He sent him to me, and the other hosting company, we know each other. And so I'm not going to say what hosting company. I'm not going to bash
Sure.
hosting companies in general. There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good other companies that I compete against, but I talk to, and they're fine, they're great. There's no issue if you were to use them. This particular company, his miners weren't. They're on low power mode because they're L7s and L9s. Okay. They're on low power mode because he couldn't have them. They were overheating on normal mode, and this is during the winter. This is not during the worst time of the year, and he was just having issues. And so he was able to get out of his contract. He was able to send all 35 miners, and they came from this other hosting company. They came in good shape. They came in the boxes. They were all fine. The other hosting company messaged me and says, "I hope you enjoy your the difficult client. I wish you luck." Is more or less is what he said. And so we got him going. We got him running. A couple of little minor things at first. We got him fixed in the first day or two, no issue, and we're running. And we made it. It was 6 weeks later. We made a joke that, hey, I haven't talked to you for 6 weeks since we set this up. You must be a really, really tough client. He messaged me back laughing. He goes, you know what? I was just talking to my brother about that the other day. Yeah, it's great not having to worry about my miners every day. And so that's my goal. It doesn't matter if it's the one guy or the one ASIC guy or the 35 ASIC guy. If they're happy and I don't, if I'm not talking to you, that means everything's going pretty good.
That's fantastic. Yep. That's I think that really is the goal of every service provider, right? Like,
yes.
I provide the service, you pay me my bill. Yep. I don't need to deal with you. It's kind of like being in the insurance industry, right? Like,
yes.
If everything's going well, nobody's talking to each other, the bill's just getting paid, and you have your peace of mind, and that's it. So this guy's obviously looking at his wallet, I'm sure daily, and saying, okay, everything's going well.
Yep.
That's it. That's all I needed. So that's great. There's a comfort level as a miner, as a small time miner. There's a comfort level that's attractive to me for that. Where I'm telling you, man, every time I hear a weird noise, I'm running out to my garage. Did something just turn off? Oh my God, what's going on? Did one of my dogs just eat a wire? Like there's always something that it can be. And I don't have the money to go buy a Connex box and convert it to a mining farm. And if I did, my homeowners association here would kill me.
Yes.
So,
yeah, you'd have problems.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, I'm reading through my list
real
quick.
You're fine.
So you host, I'm assuming most of your customers are falling into that Bitcoin, the Doge, Litecoin band. Did I see you do some you have some guys doing Caspa as well?
I did. Yeah, or I still do. It goes in waves. It kind of depends on what's hot at the moment. Right now, Bitcoin's hot. So I'm getting a lot more Bitcoin miners in. But there was a while there where Dogecoin was hot, so I was getting a lot of L9s in and L7s. And then at one point there was Caspa miners. And so that's the good thing about hosting is you have to be kind of fluid in how you do things because the miners could change. So you have to make sure you're set up to where I can run Caspa miners or I can run Bitmain. And so you kind of go with the flow. And so I ran a bunch of Caspa miners when the KS5L was new and everyone was on it. And those things were making 10, 15, 20 bucks a day. And I had a lot of clients sent me those. And so, and we call them glass cannons. They're a little finicky. I figured some things out to make them better. They are all running fine, but some of them aren't as good as the other ones. And so we had more issues with those. But, yeah, we ran those. I'm trying to think where I was going to go with this. Ran those, and then when Caspa isn't very good right now, I allowed those clients to turn off a little bit early before their contract was up. They weren't making money, but they didn't just not pay the bill. They said, "Hey, can I turn off at the end of this month here? This is getting tough." Yep. And they were upfront about it. And so I said, "Great, cool." And so in my recent videos, you can actually see a lot of those miners still sitting on the shelf.
Okay.
I think I turned 20 off. Left some on, but I turned 20 miners off. And my thought process was, okay, they're not making money. They're not happy. It's not my fault.
Right.
It's not their fault. But just they're not making money, and I get it. And so I'm gonna turn off, and maybe they're gonna turn back on. Maybe they're not. But I'm not out money. I'm just not making as much.
Right.
And so, my thought process is, yeah, these Caspa miners aren't working. Let's turn it off. Let them go. And I just told them, hey, if as of now they can sit on the shelf, but if I fill up here quick, I'm gonna need you to ship it back, or ship it to someplace, and you have to pay for that. And I'll take care of the boxing and stuff, but you have to pay for it. And they're all cool with that.
That's fair.
So that's how I did it. So yep.
That makes sense.
I did turn some of them back on here when Caspa had that run.
Yep.
But yeah, it's tough for those. That's why I'm a little more on the Bitcoin, Dogecoin, because the fluctuation in price will affect the profitability, but not as much. So,
Right. Yeah.
that's just my thought process.
No, and that's fair. It's the things that we know historically have proven the proof
Yeah.
of works that have shown that they're going to keep making money one way or another. That's just good business, and not just good business for you as the host,
Yep.
but for the person that owns that miner. I mean, it's just again,
Yes.
we're doing this for money, so I
Yes.
mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Cool. All right, so can we talk a little bit about your I want to put it like your mining shed there. I know that
Yes.
that's not trying to minimize what it is, but your building, your operation.
Yes.
Kind of talk to me what you got there. I'm going to put the pictures up so far folks can see
Sure.
what you're talking about.
So the idea is this building had a bunch of extra power. It used to be a bread manufacturer, plant area, building.
Okay.
And so they had a crap ton of power going in there, like 1.5 megawatts. And so I'm one of my day jobs is real estate. So I knew of the owner, so contacted him and figured out that building was using less power than my personal Bitcoin shed in the backyard.
Okay.
So that whole building was. And so we're like, hey, can we just plug into it? Because they have, all the switch panels, the transformers all there, everything is there. All we gotta do is plug into it. And we just put a Connex, 40-foot Connex. It ended up being a 45-footer. We wanted a little bit bigger. And so we put a 45-foot Connex right next to it. And I go through on the video, building it, what it looked like before, the stuff we did to it, and it was a month process, or a little more than a month to get it from, just getting it dropped to where it is now.
Gotcha.
And so, just the 40-foot Connex. We cut the sides off, the long sides off, and we raised them up, and that's our awning. That's our roof that we're using. And that was my partner's idea. Because my idea was actually to build a roof over the top and just have the Connex sitting underneath it. But he's like, oh, I was going to use the sides, which is use these metal pieces here. And so we did that. And then we, he kind of built that up. And then we, waterproofed it, painted it, run the electrical in. I built the shelves. I ran all the Ethernet wires to each spot on the shelf. He ran all the PDUs. We special ordered those from China a certain way. We wanted them a certain setup for us.
Uh-huh.
We built that little office in the back. So I have a little office there. Just so that's where when I plug in a miner, I go in there and set the pool, and we have a little Foreman server in there. So Foreman gives you access to view it as a client from anywhere, so you can view your miner and see what the temperatures are, what's hash rate, what's the fan speed. You can kind of see everything, so you can see your miner from anywhere. So that gives you, the client, that access.
Cool.
We have that little office there for kind of do that kind of stuff. And so we just built that. It was a very good first build, because we learned, and we didn't have a lot of upfront costs. It's just me and my partner. We don't have anybody else investing in that one, at least. And so it was a lot less upfront money. And we can learn in the process. Hey, this worked. Hey, this didn't work. Or hey, we're gonna do it differently next time because this should work better. We just kind of learned a lot of that stuff. And so, that's what we got. It's a 45-foot Connex. Cut the sides off, built the shelves, and then you mentioned earlier that exhaust wall. And so that's a big foam wall. And the idea is that's plugged into the back of the shelf. And so that's on the back of the shelf, and you cut the holes in. Put the big miner through the holes. And so the air can only go through from the intake side to the exhaust side through the miners. That's the idea. Mm-hmm. And so it makes kind of a wind tunnel. And you want that 100% sealed off because you have so much sucking power coming in from the intake side, from your miners just having the fans ramped up, that the air gets sucked in through any hole. So if that exhaust wall has holes in it, it's sucking in that hot air that just came out of the miners and sucking it right back in. So you want that to be completely closed off, and then so the air if it was going to recirculate through, it has to go all the way around over the top of the Connex, over the top of our awning, or around the sides. And so that's why we have those walls on the side there, so the air can't just hurry up and come right back in through the side. So that whole idea is, and that's why we have the skirting underneath too. Lets the water through because it drains through there. That's for where the location is, but we don't want the air to go through, and so. That whole idea is one side is only cold air, one side is only hot air, and those two sides don't mix. That's the idea.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yep.
I wish I could say I could do that at home, but I can't. So I
Yep.
would have to do a complete revamp of my garage to do something like that. Which
Yeah, or build a box.
exactly,
And just have
yeah,
the miners in a box. Yeah.
right. My
Yep.
my yeah, they would. It's just beyond my ability and my desire to get that involved in it. So that's cool.
Yep.
So
And that idea, we stole from someone else. That's not us. That's if you look at any of the big boy containers out there. That's the idea. And so they use different. We use like a foam board. They use different stuff. Some of them like actually have like sheets of metal because they have the exact same miner everywhere, so they can use the exact same cutout all the way across the board, which is really clean and nice. Since we are a hosting company and I host Ice Rivers, I host Bitmains, and they're all different sizes, and I host Alpha Pex and some other models. I have to be able to work with anything, so I have to cut the holes, to make for each miner. So that's why we use the foam.
makes sense. Yeah, it
Yep.
makes complete sense. So you've got this great separation there. Heat
Yep.
on one side, it exhausts out. You've got your cold air inside.
Yep.
What kind of controls do you have on the inside? Like, I've got 5 dogs, Nathan. So
Yep.
husky hair is my biggest battle. So
Yep.
I know you don't got 5 huskies running around inside your box there, but I'm
Yep.
sure that there's always the chance for dust and other just
Yep.
normal life stuff. What do you guys have going on there that helps mitigate that?
So on the intake side, so it's the intake side of the container. We raised it up, but we have little beams going across it, vertical, like every 8 feet or so, and we actually attached a filter wall. So we actually have filter, big industrial filter. We buy it by the roll. It's like 3 feet by 100 feet, more or less. And so you just buy this huge filter wall and you filter and you just line it up. So it's covering 100% of that intake wall, and the air has to come through that to get in. So it's a 8. What's the? I don't know. I forgot what the term is for filter. 8, whatever. It's 5, 7, 8, 10. It's an 8, whatever that is. But yeah, it's that's the idea. And so we have to change the every couple months. We did it. I think it was mid-April. So we're coming up on when we need to do it again. But that keeps the dirt out. That keeps the cotton, and dust and bugs and everything else out. And so it gets trapped in there. I won't say it's perfect, and none of those systems are perfect. Because if I made it perfect where nothing comes in, I also make it perfect where no air comes in.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
there's a fine line there.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I would say dust is our biggest problem. I think that's more of a location thing than anything else. Dust is my biggest problem. But when we change filter walls, we clean miners out. I clean every one. I clean up, quite a bit. And so, yeah, there's a fine line there. But that's what it is. That's what we use. And that's not an us thing. That's a lot of people do different types of filter walls.
Sure.
So
It looks cool. I'm looking at the picture of it, and I think that's
Yep.
that's a really neat system how you've got that. I mean, it's just like,
Yep.
well, we can just put like an airport in here and then put a filter over it. Screw it. Let's just make the whole wall a filter. So I think that's really neat.
yeah, and be honest, and that's something where I'll put my container up against other ones. I've seen other containers that are pre-built and nice and whatever, but they don't have 100% intake wall. They have stuff in the way, so that intake wall becomes 60% or 70% of the entire surface area of the wall. So we are 40 foot long by 8.5 feet tall of intake wall. There's nothing in the way, and so we did that on purpose because when there is no such thing as too much intake when it comes to containers like this. And that's what I learned on my shed. And that's what I've just learned from other people doing things. There's no such thing as too much intake. And, so we want that to be 100%. And I'll be honest, I even have designs of what other people have tried to raise the intake. And that's something we could do. We could build a box that actually sticks out from the intake side. That's goes out like 6-7 feet out. And it's a box with the 40 foot on the other side of intake. And it has the sides as well that adds to the intake. So there's no such thing as too much intake, and that's just how we designed it.
Cool. So maintenance on these suckers. So
Yes.
I've got an S20. I got 2 S21s with you.
Yep.
It throws I see it starts throwing an error that one of my hash boards is red lighting or something like that.
Yep.
At that point, is that one of those things where I as the owner of the device get the alert and I let you know, or does that foreman software that you have kind of tell you like, hey, one of your miners has a problem?
Both. So
Okay.
Foreman would tell you. So
Okay.
Foreman would tell you. Foreman would tell me. I have you in Foreman. You can have different steps to where it does certain things. In to be honest, I don't have that problem yet.
Okay.
I have. When we had our hot days, we had a couple 90-degree days, and that's I only gets up like 95-ish. That's our hot days, and so we had a couple 90 days here this spring, which was a really good test because I wanted to test, having a bunch of miners in there and how we were going to do. And I had 3 L7s that were overheating, and they were the 9500 L7s. They weren't the 9050s.
Okay.
And so what I ended up finding out was it was a fan issue where the fans weren't set at 100%. Because the client, they were used, so the client sent it to me from his house or from wherever, and he had them set down at like 60, 70%. And it locked at that percentage. So as soon as I unlocked it, I locked it at 100%, no issue. And so my goal is if your S21s are overheating, you're going to get mentioned. You're going to get a message. Foreman's going to take care of it, and I'm going to keep an eye on it too. And so then I'm going to start going through some troubleshooting. Do I check the fans like that? Do we have them overclocked? Because I have a lot of clients with S21s that have third-party firmware on there to overclock them or underclock them, depending on their situation. So is that something where maybe we need to bump it down just a little bit, just to get through the summer?
Right.
If we have it overclocked, or do I have to do something on my end where that wall isn't perfect around that miner and it's letting air back in? Or do I have it in a weird spot? It's like, is it up in the corner in the top, or is it in the bottom in the corner? And that's just a bad area. And I'm learning that as we go. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at all those things to see what we can make better. Cool. And that's as part of where this is my first summer with quite a few miners. Because I had miners last year, but we didn't have as many. This year I have 195 miners in there. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. And I have through Foreman, I have a way to actually view all my miners, all the temperatures, and I can go from there. So
cool. So let's say on my miner something breaks, right?
Yep. Yep.
Is that something generally like I know if it's something that needs to go back to the manufacturer, I'm sure that you assist with boxing it up so that way it can get taken care of under warranty or whatever. Yep. If it's like a minor thing, like a fan goes out, like the fan just dies, is that one of the things I can contact you and be like, hey man, that's a dead fan. Can I pay you to fix that for me? Is that how that works?
So hosting in general, every hosting company is going to do this differently. Mm-hmm. And so that's where you want to read the fine print. How do they deal with the situation? Because a fan will go out, power supply will go out, hashboard might go out in some miner. You're going to have some kind of issue. Mm-hmm. The goal is the machine to run for 3 to 4 years. Something's going to go wrong. And the way I do it here at Iowa Mining is I don't charge you for me to do maintenance on it. Okay, so we have to swap out power supply, we have to swap out a hashboard, swap out a fan. I don't charge you for the time it takes me to do that. If it's a warranty thing, I will help facilitate that. To be honest, I just got some hashboards in for 3 miners that had a hashboard issue, and so I was able to send them all to a Bitmain repair center and get it fixed. So I'm not going to charge for that. I will help with that, to facilitate that. If, for example, power supply goes out, either I will order it, and you, the client, will pay whatever my cost is. And I'll show you what my cost is. You're going to pay 1 for 1. You're not going to pay 10% on top or anything. Or you just send me one from wherever you feel comfortable with, and you just send me a power supply. And then I'll put it on and no charge. So that's how I do things here. Because you're paying for me to run it, and my job is to keep it running at top shape. I have fans on hand. I don't have power supplies just because there's like 5 different ones I have in there. But I have like fans and stuff, and I have other stuff like that. Or I have a vendor I can get stuff in a couple days, and we'll go from there. So that's how I do things. But talk to your hosting company, ask them that same question, read the fine print, see what they would do and won't do. It does change depending on what hosting company you use.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So again, I'm sure you get these questions from people when they're talking to you about hosting, because that's something that would be a concern of mine. Like, what do we do in this situation? So that's good. I just lost my place, man. Give me a second here, because my brain goes in 10 different directions. I got that adult ADHD thing going on. Okay, so looking at these awesome pictures you got here. I got some up. The one I got right now, it's a picture. It's like a close up of a miner you have. It's got like a Red Panda mining sticker on it.
Yes.
So That's really
Yep.
cool. So for something like that, let's say again, my S21, I've been with you for a while.
Yep.
I'm thinking I'm going to upgrade to the newest and the coolest new fangled Bitmain or the new whatever Seal miner, whatever's coming out that's going to be the new
Yep.
fangled miner. I want to go to that, so I went ahead and I talked with you. I bought them, but I've got this S21 sitting on the shelf over there with you that I think it's time for me to kind of retire. It's still in good
Yep.
condition.
Yep.
Do you have a thing where like you can do you have like a place to post that, like if I say like, hey man, do you know anybody that wants to buy one of these,
Yeah.
keep it in house and
Yeah, I don't have a great place, and that's something. Me being smaller, and I'm a one man shop here because, like I told you, it was me and my partner. Or I'm doing all the contacting, I'm doing all the advertising. Like you know, I'm doing a lot of the work just myself, and so I will post and say, hey, I got a miner that has to sell an S21, and it's been running with me for a year or whatever the case may be, and it's great and no issues. And he wants to sell it. Here's the price, and I can run it and host it, or we can get it shipped out. It's fine, whatever situation works. And so I will help just because of my, me having a following, just because of what I've been doing. But I don't have a great area to do that, so that's not something I'm good at. I'll say that.
yeah,
So
and that's okay.
I know
that's
that
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you don't. That I mean, I know that's not ideal either. I did
Yep.
see here, like you put up a post, I guess about 4 days ago, and
Yep.
it said, "Who's interested in buying a client of mine's Ice River KS5L for $500?
Yep.
Ran great for
Yep.
8 months. Just been very good. It's been very good. Can ship it out or host it with me." And see,
Yep.
it's kind of funny because I see that and I'm like, Nathan, I got $500 laying around, and I like
Yep.
gas, but so
Yep.
so that's cool.
Yeah.
Like that's neat that you have that ability to do that.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, you said you're at about 11 months now, almost a year. You're coming up on your
Yes.
year. That's
Yes.
great. Do you for your hosting contracts? Are you comfortable with talking about like what's the general time frames that you do?
Yeah. So it depends on. In my normal contract is 1 year.
Right.
Okay, it's 12 months. There is situations where, hey, I want to do this, and this is how long I need to do it for because I'm doing this later. I have clients that do that they're doing something later to where they want to go with me, but they don't want to go with me for the full year, and they're upfront about it. And maybe that means we change the rate, we do this or do that. There's other things. I'm one of those where, like I said earlier with the Castle miners, I've only been up for 11 months. There's no way they've got their 12-month contract when they, had the previous miner. So as long as they're upfront with me and paying their bills on time and doing everything else correctly, I will work with anybody given the situation.
Sure.
And so, in general, it's a 12-month contract. Go into it with that thought process. I'm going to be here for 12 months. And we're going to also talk about, depending on what miner you want, I'm going to know if it's going to last 12 months or not too. So kind of depends on that situation too.
Right.
So I have told people no just because of the type of miner they wanted. So yeah, I guess that's the general. I'm not going to stick people with, hey, it's a year, no matter what, you can pay me or not. Yeah, I know close in companies that do that. It's not fair to the client most of the time because most of the time they're in a situation where they don't want to, they have to, and so that's not always fair to them. And it doesn't cost me anything to turn someone off. If their bill is paid up and I turn them off, I'm not losing money. I'm just not making as much.
Right, yeah.
So, but they're happy, and that's the more important thing because an unhappy current client or previous client is not good for me as a company, for my image, for potential clients. Maybe they want to buy a miner in a year. They just can't right now. Their buddies that they talk to about. There's no benefit for sticking someone with a bill when I'm not actually losing money.
Right.
So
no, and I think that's reasonable. I think anywhere you go in the world, it doesn't matter the service provider that you're talking with, whether it's your cell phone, whatever. The generally accepted consensus is let's set it at a year and we'll talk about it from there. Right. Anything more than a year, you start questioning. Like you get that AT&T model with like, oh, you need to lock us in at 3 years. It's like why?
Yep.
Why do I need to lock in at 3 years? I don't know what's going to happen in 3 years, but I think a year is reasonable. So that's fair.
Yeah, and I have clients that they've my first and second client. Those guys are great. They have like 8 miners apiece, more or less, and they started with a couple and they keep building. But they've sent me replacements. So they had miners they sent to me originally, and they sent me new S21s to replace the previous models, and I just sent them back. It's not, I don't even, they're great, they're happy. What the hell? Why am I going to ruin that for an extra $50 for a setup fee, or extra month or two for whatever? That doesn't help anybody. So, yeah, that's my thought process, and that's not, you don't see that everywhere, but I'm just, if they're mining and happy, I'm happy. That's all that matters.
Nice. All right, so I asked you for 30 minutes. I've had you for 40, so we're going to start winding this down so you can go spend time with your family. First off, as we wind down, any cool projects, expansions on the horizon? Anything you got going on that it's kind of neat you want to talk about?
Yep. So like I mentioned, we're about just under 2/3 filled. As of right now, we are actively looking for our second place. Nice. And so we put constraints on this. So our business, it's me and my business partner, and we're bringing on a third investor who's not local, but the location is going to be local, which then makes it tougher to find something that works. The reason we want it local is I want to be able to touch stuff. I want to be able to the one fixing it. We want to be able to maintenance it and beyond. If we have a power outage, we want to be there in 10, 15 minutes, and that's where we're at now. And so, so that lowers our possibility of locations. But we are actively looking for locations here that are literally 5 minutes from my house, and we have some good prospects. We're working on it. So the goal is within a year have our second location up and running, because once we kind of get the okay, the main thing is the first two steps you have to go through. You have to go through the land, finding land that works, and then the second one is finding power that works. And I have one. I have the power pretty much okayed. I have connections at the power company here locally, and so I know who to talk to. I'm not getting special deals or anything. I just know who to talk to and who makes those decisions, and they know of me or my family and so forth. So I know who. So that I had those connections. So that is pretty much okayed, but finding the right location is tough. I have one spot that says yes, that is okay. It's not a great spot. I have another spot that he's 99% no. I'm still working on it, but he's 99% no. And I have another guy that we just started talking, and it's a good location that there's benefit for me being there. And I'll say that. He's going to make some money off me, but there's a benefit for me being visible. So, and being there. So, in a year from now, we'll have a second location. That location will be 2 containers worth. It'll be 2.5 megawatt. And so we'll be able to have 600-ish miners. Kind of depends on the power. But otherwise, me and my partner this morning, we're talking about designs for the second location. Do we do containers like we did the first time? Do we do a building that we can kind of build ourselves and just stick up the sides and stick it up and make it the height we want and stuff like that? We've already started daydreaming about and planning out what our next location would look like and the benefits and the cost and everything involved. So
that's exciting. That's really I'm happy
fun
for you guys. That's really cool. That's that entrepreneurial dream, and I love it. I used to have my own business as well. I ran for 10 years, and then I went back to corporate America because healthcare needed it. But but no, I really appreciate that. I think that's cool that y'all are doing that. Okay, just gonna double back real quick because I forgot to ask this. Uptime. What's your general uptime that has been historically for you over the last 11 months?
Yeah, so we don't have to curtail. That's the number one thing. When people you see the big boy miners out there and the big boy hosting companies, they have to curtail. That's why they get their cheap price. So what is curtailment? Curtailment is when they turn off on purpose land for a certain amount of time. Either in Texas during the summer, they turn off in the middle of the day because a lot of homes are running a lot of AC, so just the grid demand is much, much higher. So because Bitcoin can be fluid in how much power it uses, they ask the Bitcoin miners to turn off, and that's curtailment. And because they're willing to turn off a certain amount of time, a certain length during the year, they get a cheaper rate. That's the idea, and that's a great benefit. There's big pluses there. There's not a big plus for hosting. So if a hosted company has to curtail, that is awful. So for me personally, I don't curtail. I don't have to curtail. I'm not asked to curtail. And so my goal is to be as close to 100% uptime as possible. So in the last 5 to 6 months. And before then, I'll go in before then. But for the last 5 or 6 months, I've been down a total of 4 times. The other week, there was a problem at the substation, which is like 5 blocks from our location, and that substation had an issue. And not just us, but we were down for an hour.
Okay.
It was 2:10. My partner got there at 3, and we were up and running at 4 o'clock. And then we had just a handful of miners that I fixed that night. But 175 were up by 4, so they're down for 2 hours.
Okay.
And I fixed 10 or 15 that night that were just being a little bit of a pain.
Getting finicky.
Yeah. To be honest, it was a Foreman thing. Foreman, when they resynced back up, Foreman, they changed IP addresses. The DHCP kicked in, and Foreman had like S21s marked as L7s and vice versa. So then the terahashes didn't match up to where the miner should be and what the miner was running at, and so it told to turn off or reboot.
Sure.
It was those issues. It was no other problems, and so I had to fix that. And I know that because I've seen that before. So that was one time we were down. Another time we planned a filter wall change.
Okay.
So that was planned. We were down for 3 hours. We had a blizzard one time. So we've had a couple blizzards this year. We're actually under blizzard warning. This blizzard was a little warmer. It was like 20 degrees, and so the snow was very wet and heavy, and it took down a ton of power in town. And so we had at 7 in the morning, power flickered, and the electrical did what it was supposed to. The breakers turned off, and so we got there, and he's like, my partner's like, I can turn this right back on now, and I think we'll be fine. But this is the beginning of the storm.
Right.
And so no, we're going to stay off. Let's stay off till after the storm, because if I turn it back on, it's going to flicker off. And what ended up happening is, literally, after we made that decision, he was there messing with a couple things, power went off again.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, we made the right decision.
Yep.
So that day we were down for 12 hours.
Right. That's how you blow out miners if you keep trying to play the uptime game in a situation like that. I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey with blizzards, so I get it.
Yeah.
You don't want to play those games.
Yeah. And the 2 blizzards before, we ran just fine because it was just a normal blizzard where it was just you couldn't see anything because it was snow and it was windy, but it didn't take out a bunch of power from heavy snow.
Yeah.
And what we did during that situation, we refunded 1 full day worth to all my clients. So we were only down for about 12 hours. We're down at 7. I got everyone up and running, that night at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So maybe it just touched past 12, depending on the miner. But we refunded everyone a full day.
Wow, that's nice. That's more than fair.
Exactly. And it wasn't my fault. It wasn't their fault. But, it is what it is. And so then we were down one other time, and it was a planned electrical upgrade. We actually added some metering, added some other electrical stuff on our end, added like a UPS for all the servers and stuff. And we did some of that stuff. And I did some cleaning while we did that. So we were down for a couple hours, and I did some cleaning. So that was of the past 6 months, that was the 4 times we've been down.
Okay.
Otherwise, we've been up. Before then, we had a couple power flicker issues with storms and stuff like that. But we fixed that, and that's part of our electrical upgrades and some of the other stuff we did. So it wasn't like 95% before then. It was probably more like 96, 97, 98 in the 4 or 5 months before. But the last 6 months, a day. I've been down a day in 5 months, 6 months.
Okay.
Of time.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yep.
I don't see that as unreasonable. It's coming from Texas. I do not see that as unreasonable at all.
I will say this. I think the number is in a full month. If you're down 6 hours, that's 90%, 99% in a full month. So I'm above 99%.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful. Okay.
That's most I can ask for.
That's amazing, and that's really good information. That helps me set my mind at ease too, as a possible possible consumer for this. Okay, so before we get to the final 3 questions,
yes,
open floor time. This is your chance. You could say whatever you want, talk about whatever you want, anything that you'd like to hit on, something you think maybe I forgot to ask. Floor is yours, sir.
I'm trying to think. I know I read through your questions you sent me. I don't have anything specific. I'm going to say this, and this is just from as someone who I shared a bad story about a new client of mine with a different hosting company today. There's a lot of good hosting companies out there. I'm going to name some good ones that aren't me. Terra Hosting is great, and they're partners with me. I'm friends with them. Simple Mining is great. They have a new expansion coming up. They're doing some cool things. Wilson Mining is great. They're nice. They host WhatsMiners, which I can't host. They've been great. They're always public. They're awesome. There is some other ones I've heard of. I haven't heard bad things, but I don't know them as well. So I just mentioned 3 competitors of mine that are great. I can name more than that in bad hosting companies. So I'm going to say this: when you're doing your research, ask questions, ask good questions, and see what information you can get, because there's a lot of bad clients, there's a lot of good clients. So, all right, you might have to cut me off there. I tried to get him to stop.
No, it's cool.
Stop.
It's all right. If you're
I saw him coming outside of mine.
Hey, man,
No.
you run a family business. It makes sense.
So, yeah, I guess that's what I'm gonna say. If you're gonna host this, there's a lot of good companies that do good stuff. There's a lot of bad ones. Just do your homework. And the lowest price does not mean it's the best.
Right.
I will say that. I'm probably one of the higher ones, and I do things differently, and I have to make up the difference, and I get that. There's other companies out there that charge a decent number that are good, and then to be honest, the really cheap ones are also not very good at customer service or location. The reason why it's so cheap is because they're in a location that's maybe not U.S. or maybe it has a curtail like crazy. There's other reasons for it to be that cheap, so keep that in mind. And that's what I'll say. I guess that's just why I want people to realize when it comes to hosting. Just it's great, it's awesome. I have a lot of people that couldn't do this otherwise that I'm running for. Just do your research, do your homework.
Yep. No, that makes sense. And that is good information. As a former military guy, I can definitely attest to the fact that lowest bidder does not necessarily mean your best option.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy that's moving to me, his rates, the rate he's paying now is a lot less than mine, but they're torching his miners.
Yeah.
Because he's in Texas heat. He's had all 4 of his miners repaired because they overheat. And yeah, he's like, I'm not even going to have a miner in a month because they're all going to burn up.
Yep. And see, that's, as a Texan, that's something that, as a living here in Texas, I would rather host outside of Texas because of the fact that I know how the heat and the humidity here can damage things. And then on top of that, if it is, and this isn't bashing Texas hosts, it's not trying to bash them at all, but like I can imagine their overhead, because now they've got AC concerns, they've got all that other stuff that they've got to worry about, dehumidifiers, all that stuff that they're going to need to do that contributes to the bottom line, which means my price goes up, my out of pocket goes up as well, because it's got to be paid by somebody.
Yeah. I think Texas would be great if I had all my miners I'm running are all mine. I would love to curtail. I'll curtail when it's 100 degrees out. I don't want to run my miners when it's 100 degrees out. Mm-hmm. So I'll curtail all day, get the lower rate, and just during the summer I'm only running for 16 hours. That's fine because they're my miners.
Right.
And that's why the big boys are all there. The problem is people, to get that lower rate, the hosting companies do that, and then I gotta tell my clients they gotta turn off every day for 8 hours a day for 3 months. No, I mean that's not. I'm not hosting. I'm not helping them out. I'm just trying to make as much as I can off of them. That's not fair.
Right.
So that's what these places do. And so I'm getting a little fired up here, but it's
no, it's fair. That's a fair reason. So yeah.
It does not. If it comes down to price, there's usually a reason why it's that cheap. I'm just gonna say that. So otherwise, in the good things, I don't know. I think hosting, I think mining in general is great. I think there's a benefit long term. Just having some miners. You don't have to have 10. Just have 1 or 2, and you're DCAing into. View it as you're DCAing into Bitcoin every day, and that's you pay up front, you pay the electrical per month, but you're just DCAing in, and you run that thing for 2-3 years. They should last 3 years. After 2 years, you're ahead mining. You're everything after that's profit. You'd actually make more money by mining instead of just buying what you paid in electrical and for the miner itself. So that's the goal. That's why people do it, and that hasn't changed. It doesn't matter if there was a halving, what was it, 400 days ago or whatever. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if there's a halving now or not. It's still the same. It still works. These new miners are coming out, but the problem is, your next new miner is going to be double the hash rate of what yours is. Just because these new miners are double the hash rate of what's out there, the next one you buy is going to be double. Yes, the network hash rate keeps jumping, but the quality of the miner keeps jumping too at the same rate. Right. So you're not actually behind. So
that's the beauty of the Bitcoin system, right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the Bitcoin system. So it keeps it fair.
Yep.
So
yep.
No, and that's accurate. All right, cool. So
okay.
All right, before I get to my final 3 questions for you, my personality questions, I got to ask, what's the cat's name?
That one is Henry.
Okay.
So I have 2 other ones. So he's the baby. We've had him. He's naughty. We've had him for 2 months, and my wife wanted to leave the nails, leave his nails. So he's pretty naughty. He's great. Actually, to be honest, I gotta wake him up. Otherwise, he stays up all night and he's 100 miles an hour all night.
God.
And yes, so I'm gonna wake him up after this, so because I want him to sleep at night. But yeah, so that's the cat's name. That's Henry.
That's Henry. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Final 3 questions for you.
Yep.
These are personality questions.
Okay.
They're not. There's no wrong answer to this, but everybody always asks me the same thing. I've been doing these questions now, just so you know, for like.
I cheated. I saw these questions in the previous video.
Yeah. It's something I've been doing since back in when I had a radio show and I did some pop culture podcasts back in the day. And it was just always like a great little end of the day icebreaker. But no wrong answer, but can I choose both? The answer is no. All right.
There is a right answer.
Yes.
Okay.
According to the people who listen, there is a right answer. So
okay.
I usually vary it up a little bit, but the first one is tacos or pizza.
Tacos. Not even close.
Good man. Okay.
Yep.
The second one is.
I think you changed that. It was hamburgers.
It was cheeseburgers. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
I vary it up a little bit. I asked my wife. Right. I usually ask my wife. We got a little randomizer, and she goes, "Okay, ask these."
Tacos.
Tacos.
Where I'm located here in Iowa, there's a pretty big Hispanic population, and so there is some good dive taco places. And there's one that I've been going to since I was in high school. So there's 20 some years.
Wow.
They know who I am. They know who my dad is. They know who my brother is. And we joke that they put we'll make this PG. They put different stuff in the tacos that makes you keep coming back. We'll say that.
There you go.
That's our joke. So
that's awesome. Yeah. All right, cool. So tacos it is. All right, following up on that. Okay, vacation time. So do you want to go skiing in the mountains or do you want to be sitting on the beach?
Beach with a Corona.
There you go.
Yep. Or pina colada. So my wife usually has pina coladas. I'll start with Coronas and end with pina coladas. But definitely a beach. I want to go I want to do more like mountain biking and that kind of stuff at the mountains. I haven't done that. I want to. But if I had a choice, it's beach 24/7.
Feel you. I'm 100% with you on that. I love the mountains too. When I was a teenager, I was a snowboarder, but I'm in my 40s now, and my knees just can't handle that. So sitting on a beach with a Corona sounds ideal to me as well.
Yep.
Okay, and the final question is: would you rather go to the amusement park and ride the rides and the roller coaster? Sorry, my brain went out there for a minute. The roller coasters, or Netflix and chill with the family?
I am really more 50-50 on this because I am a homebody. I if it was up to me, I'm staying home. But it's nice to get out every now and then. Yeah. So I would say I do more of the Netflixing and hanging at home and doing that. But it's good to have a percentage of, hey, you know what, this weekend we need to get out and go do stuff. Mm-hmm. So I can't give you a good answer on that one. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to say Netflix. But there's a decent percentage that's the other one.
Gotcha.
So
today it's Netflix. If I talk to you next week, it might be roller coasters. No,
yes.
I got you.
Yeah. Like but it's a hassle. I have 3 kids. That's what I'm thinking of. Where do I want to take the 3 kids? And going to an amusement park would be a hassle. And it's a 3-hour drive to the closest decent one, and then I have to deal with that. It's a 2-hour drive to the closest good zoo. If I went and did that route. So I'm thinking of the whole picture, which isn't all fun stuff. Maybe we're at the amusement park and it's nice out. That's not too bad. But the 3-hour drive there and 3-hour drive back is gonna suck.
That's gonna suck. Yep. No, I feel you on that. I had surgery last week and I've been stuck in the house. So I'm at that point right now where 99.9% of the time, if you ask me what would you rather, I would say Netflix and chill. I'm at the point now where I'm like, can I go skydiving? Like, I just want to get out of the damn house so bad because I've been stuck in here. It's just, But I get it. It kind of depends on the mood. All right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add to this. This year is different for me because I'm in an area that my parents live on a lake just 5 minutes from here. That we had really, really, really bad flooding last year. Like my brother had 6 feet of water in his basement. We had to redo the whole thing. People lost houses. My parents made out okay. We only had a foot. So but it ruined the lake, the little lake my parents are on. And so we had that situation where we went to my parents' house every weekend, swam, jet skied, boated, the whole works. And so this year, the amusement park idea is great because I need to get my kids out and do something where we used to just go to, cheat and the cheat code and go to my parents' house. So yeah, it's different here. It's weird. But yeah, this year's my answer is different than what it would have been a year ago. How's that?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep.
All right. Well, we have taken up exactly 1 hour of your time.
Yep.
I really
We're good.
appreciate it. I sincerely thank you for your time. I'm going to go ahead and get this posted.
Okay.
I just want to say on behalf of my small little group of viewers on YouTube and my
Yep.
becoming much more substantial viewers on X,
Yep.
I would thank you for what you do. You provide a service for these miners that is needed and necessary and
Yep.
fair. And that
Yep.
is something that I really appreciate and why I wanted to highlight you on the show. Okay, before we say goodbye, anything else? Any last minute statements?
No, I appreciate this. And I was in your position once as a new YouTuber. I happen to be friends with the hobbyist miner with
Great guy.
Red Panda. That's his miner. That's why that picture's
Yeah.
there. That's his miner. And some of these other guys where I play games with them quite often and I hang out with them. And before I even did the YouTube channel, and they threw me bones more or less. They helped me out too. And so I figured I'm now in a position to help someone else out. And yeah, I enjoy this. And so yeah. I appreciate you having me on. This has been fun.
All right, thanks, Nathan. Really appreciate it. And hang in there 1 second. I'm going to stop the recording, but
Yep.